Hey guys, my name is Richard Ogachi. As you all know, and those who don't know me, those are new to this channel. I'm a registered nurse. I'm from Kenya, now live in the US, and I'm sharing stories on my channel about my experiences transitioning from Africa to the US and the kind of challenges that I faced. And generally speaking, I do talk about the challenges I've faced in nursing, in my nursing career, and as a male nurse especially. Uh, in fact, tonight or today, I'm going to talk about one challenge that I experienced when I was moving, when I was traveling. It was during my travel. So in Kenya, the date that I traveled, I was alone with the kids. I have 3 kids. So my wife had already traveled, and we traveled, I think, few days after, and I was alone with a 1-year-old girl, 3 years old boy, and 5-year-old girl. So as it went, we moved out of a house that we lived in Nairobi. We had moved everything out of the house, and we now were ready to travel. I had called a taxi guy to drop us to the airport. We went, everything. I had just like prepared the kids, very super. I was like so relaxed, and yet I didn't know what was ahead of me. So, what I made sure was that I have all the necessary documents. I had everything that I needed, especially the kids' clothes, and that I was ready for the travel. So it was supposed to be 8 hours drive to flight to Qatar, which turned out to be Qatar. It was supposed to be Amsterdam, and then it was another 14 hours from Amsterdam to Chicago airport. So I left, I had the kids ready, and my bags were ready packed. All the documents were ready, and I was like, okay, this is where it all starts. And we are leaving Kenya for the US. Very interesting. And it was very sad because the love for Kenya is real. That's the country of my birth. That's where I was born, and still love the country to the bone. And then that day, I was supposed to travel. I was leaving the country for the US. So I took a taxi from my house where I lived to the airport. It was early enough. I called my brother, who came to help me get to figure out, move the bags, and also support during checking in. And then so I took a taxi from my house to the airport, and of course on Mombasa Road we had like so much traffic. It was around 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and remember the flight is at 10 p.m. I did not want to take chances. In the airport in Kenya, when you're flying out, there's usually like sluggishness. They clear and check-ins and everything, and especially traffic to the airport is crazy, so you don't want to miss your flight. And I said that I had to be on time, I had to be early. So I went all the way to the airport in the taxi and picked up my bags. I had Candice, the 1-year-old man, and just hold the baby. And I think I had more than 6 bags, big bags. So my brother helped me to go ahead, and remember that time there was supposed to be COVID testing. So I have 3 kids. I have to move from, in fact, the place for testing is another distance from the airport, outside there. Not really outside, but within the airport area. It was we took a bus, I think, we took a bus to the clinic where we did a COVID test. And then when I remember even those COVID tests, some of the clinics that offered the testing, I don't know, I don't remember exactly how much we were paying, but it was around maybe, was it $200? No, it was $100, $100. So we went to the clinic, we got the test, and we got the test. I don't know if they tested the kids, but I was tested for sure. Everything went okay. Remember, my flight was from Nairobi to Amsterdam and then Amsterdam to the US, Chicago. So after the test, we went back to check in now. I think it was around 9 p.m. It was 8 p.m. We were supposed to check in at 8 p.m. So we started checking in the bags and everything, getting our passport stamped. So we went to the airport, went inside and started processing everything. The first time I gave my passport, they told me that the kind of visa that I had, you cannot travel to Amsterdam. We were told that we cannot fly to the US through Amsterdam because of the COVID policies and regulations. They did not allow my kind of visa that I had with my kids to travel to Amsterdam. So immediately, it was luckily the agent that I used to book the flights lives in the US. So that time, that was 9 p.m. Of course, in the US, it's daytime. So I called my sister who helped me get in touch with these guys, and she called them immediately. And the agent said that he's going to help and he's going to get a different flight, And then, so I got so freaked out because, I don't know how it goes when you are not supposed to travel. So when is the next time you travel? Remember, my house, I had moved everything. I can't go back. I told my kids that this is going to be a challenge, but I actually didn't even tell them. I didn't tell my kids that this is what was going on because 5-year-old, they don't know what's going on anyway. But I think I told the 5-year-old, Baruch was all over the place. The guy has energy. He had energy. Like all over the airport, he was actually moving. So that evening, things went okay until the time that we were told that the flight cannot fly to Amsterdam. You have to get a different flight. And switching to a different flight has cost implications. It's like you are booking a new flight. And when you book immediate flights, of course, there's cost implications. They're very expensive. But when my sister called this guy, he said immediately that it's going to help. He tried to switch to, it was KLM. He tried to switch to Qatar Airways immediately. And he did it. It took us like another hour and a half. And he was able to get a flight that was going at 11 p.m. at night. Remember, my flight was 10, and now we are almost 1.5 hours later. But we were able to get the flight at 11 that night. That is when I came to learn that all the time, use professionals. Use people who understand how things work. Because almost all the time you find we tend to use shortcuts. We tend to use cutways and... Hello, Candace. What's up? Come on.
I've been trying to wake you up.
Come say hi, Candace. I was so asleep. I was so tired. And Candace, this is the girl, guys. This is the girl who was 1 year old. And now she's 6. Hey, Candace, can you say hi?
Hi.
All right, thank you. I'm
Daddy,
coming.
just to let you know, we got our Valentine's Day for school, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'll see you shortly.
I don't like the candy I just ate.
Good deal. Thank you, girl. So, The flight that we took, it took us a professional to get switch the flights to a different flight. But of course, there was cost implications later, and that guy paid for me. And when I came, I was able to pay him back after I got to the US. But one of the lessons I learned from that is just use professionals. Use people who understand what they're doing. Because initially, by then, my plan was to book the flights myself online. Because then, of course, that time, that agency, I could not get direct customer care to sort out my issue, because they could have told me that, okay, we are going to get you a different flight. And that flight meant that it would be a different day. So where could I go? Where could I go? And I had already moved everything out of the house, and the house is closed. Maybe I was supposed to take a hotel. That was the option that I had. But anyways, it happened, and that was the biggest lesson. Most of the time you want to do things on yourself so that you cut costs, but in the long run, what you find is you end up using more or spending more than the actual money or whatever amount that you are supposed to spend. You end up spending more, because if I had booked myself, of course, that night I would have not traveled. If you had used an accounting firm for your accounting or your finances, use them, pay them their commissions, because they have insights, they understand the game. If you are to get doing your taxes, use a professional, use an accountant. If you're sick in this particular case, please, most people, they buy antibiotics over the counter. And by the way, you can never buy antibiotics over the counter in the US. But in Kenya, you can buy drugs and medicines, even antibiotics, everywhere or anywhere. In small clinics, in small pharmacies, you can get. But anyway, if you are sick and you have symptoms and signs and symptoms that you think you need to see a professional, pay them for them to advise you and guide you on what to do. If you have a legal issue, pay the lawyers. Don't go representing yourself in court. You don't understand the rules. You don't understand the game. Pay professionals, pay agents. Even tourism and travel, the agents are always able to get good deals for you. If you pay yourself directly, of course, you can't get those commissions, or you cannot get the deals. They understand the game. Pay them. If you want your kids to get the best out of their education, come on, pay the teachers. Pay the best. Money can buy. Actually, that's what I realized. Pay the best. Money can buy. If you want a lawyer, pay the best. Money can buy. Have you seen even the lawyers, those who are the big fishes, the one who have sensation, anytime you see there is a difficult case or hell is breaking loose in the courts, the most difficult, those kind of criminal cases, and you see the best of the best showing up and trying to negotiate for bonds and cash bails, If you don't use professionals, you pay the price. If you're going through a divorce, for example, because the problem with divorce, you get to the game and you don't know the rules. It's not like soccer. When you're told, when you touch somebody, when you touch the ball, you get a red card or you get a yellow card. Or football, the game is, sometimes you don't know the rules. When you get there, that's when you learn things are against you. Or you are not able to negotiate. You don't know how to play with the judge's emotions to decide your way. So I learned that day that always use professionals. If you want to buy a car, for example, just use guys who understand which is the best and they are able to advise you, if you buy this, you're going to get spare parts from this place, or you get this kind of challenges, and this is how you go about just in case you get into this kind of trouble. Use professionals and use the best of the best. If you're to move to the US, also I've seen people also ask questions about how do I avoid the agents and come alone, and there's that option too. There's that option. That those options, by the way, but you see, when you use a professional like we used an agency, it was easier because they already understand how to go about the next steps, what the immigration needs. Use a professional. Use a professional for that case. So we ended up flying to Qatar Airways, to Qatar city, Doha, and it was just a stopover, and then we had our 14-hour flight to Chicago, and that was the longest flight ever, because I had 3 kids alone. So fortunately that day there were so many empty seats in the plane. You see how things were aligning, because of course I had to travel. I was so sure I had to travel. So the empty seats, I laid my kids to sleep on different rows, and one was, so my work was, they laid on different rows, and they would sleep, and when they wake up, I feed them. I give them the food. And it went on and on and on for 14 hours. And finally, we got to Chicago. Finally, we got to Chicago, my friend. The shock of my life. It was February. It was actually Valentine's, February. And we got to Chicago. The cold of the coldest places. I had never experienced such cold in my life. Never experienced such cold in my life. It was a shock on me. I was not ready. I had not prepared to have kids. We had sweaters on, but I didn't know it was that cold that I needed to dress up. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll continue from there. So keep looking for the next video that I'll post on how we arrived in the US and what exactly happened. Thank you so much, and remember, this is Richard Ogachi. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the bell, guys. Thank you for your support, and see you next time. Bye.